Get together.
Terrible.
Think you changed mine. All right, everybody ready? Let's call the Italian Village Commission to order for a regular meeting here on whatever day it is, August 8th, 2023, 4 p.m.-ish. 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. Next month's hearing will be, the business meeting will be in the same room on August 29th. Noon, and next month's hearing will be Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Here. Why does it say that? Oh, no, that's right, 204. 111 North Front Street, second floor. All right, can I have staff state their name for the record?
Yes, of course. Morgan Graff.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon and evening.
Of course.
Excellent, thank you. And we will go and introduce the commissioners. We'll start at far end. Carly, you want to state your name for the record, please?
Ben Goodman.
Shannon Fergus.
Jason Sudi. We will now jump to public forum. Do we have any public forum?
We don't have any public forum today.
Okay. Approval of staff approvals. Those begin on what page today? I think 5, maybe page 5. Yeah, sounds right.
Page 6, Commissioner Studi.
Thanks. Okay. Do I have a motion for approval of staff approved applications?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, and we'll just call in favor now, and then we'll go back for abstentions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'll go through for abstentions. 853 Summit Street.
Abstaining. Goodman.
Goodman abstains on that one. Another 853 Summit Street. I assume you're also abstaining, correct? 880 Hamlet Street. Not really sure who actually owns that one, so I'll abstain. I used to live there and it confused me for a second because I don't live there anymore. And then 692, 694 Hamlet. 193, 195 Greenwood. It's a long one. 21 East First. 964 North High. 1040 North Fourth. 1030 North High. And 1059 Hamlet. Going on. It's good. Okay.
I just want to clarify my abstention was for proximity.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodman.
Makes sense. Great. Anything we need to know about the agenda today before we dive into staff?
No, just, we have approval of the minutes. We also have approval of the June special meeting minutes, just due to, some commissioners at the time not being present during that meeting. So we'll just need to go through and, approve those.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have an approval of minutes from the July 11th, 2023 meeting? Can I have a motion for that?
Move to approve.
Did you say?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And then approval of minutes from the June special meeting, June 27th, 2023. Do I have a motion for that one?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
Commissioner Fergus.
No, actually, I don't think I was there on July 11th, now that I think about it. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah, you weren't there.
Yeah, so I'll abstain from July. Okay, so jumping into the applications, continued applications. Number 1 is IV 2306-010-285 East Street. I will have to abstain on this one, so I'll scoot you out of the room for a second and then just come let me know when ready to roll.
Raise your right hand.
Just
state
real
your
quickly
name.
before you do that, you might want to note for the record. Here.
Oh, yes, yes. Definitely. Thank you, Commissioner Studi.
State your name for the record.
Logan Fitch,
You swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability.
I do.
right, thank you, staff.
All right. So for 285 East Fourth Avenue, this is for Bethany Church. Application is in response to a code violation. Installation of 2 glass sconce light on the either side of the double entry door. Light fixture was selected to match the light fixtures previously approved for the new development project, 295 East Fourth Avenue. Addition of festoon lighting over entry egress wells on east and west elevation. Addition of a steel fence post risers to accommodate the addition of festoon lighting. Risers to match detail of previously approved fencing. Addition of guardrail on tower, which was required by Columbus BZS. Guardrail will be black steel. Railing is 43 inches in height and extends 30 inches above the parapet. The following is taken from the approved June 13, 2023 Italian Village Commission meeting. Commissioners requested applicant to look into more appropriate light fixtures with possibly lowering the location. Commissioners additionally requested applicant to provide the comments discussion by BZS about the railing piece, as well as the purpose for the railing to be installed. Was the horizontal railing design required by BZS or was it design choice by the applicant? Applicant to provide the revised drawings to show the newly installed railing piece on the tower. At the August business meeting, commissioners had the following requests and statements. Commissioner requested applicant provide the BZS feedback about the railing piece, provide reasoning for the railing to be installed, use of the space on top of the tower. Additionally, if the horizontal design was required by BZS or design choice by the applicant. Some commissioners stated that the current railing style detail appears to be architecturally inappropriate for the space and would need to be discussed further. They requested applicant to verify with a structural engineer that the connection brackets or the railings on the tower are stable if the tower portion will be used as public space. Applicant has provided additional elevation drawings to include the railing piece on the tower with photos showing how the railing is anchored with the following response. The railing is attached to the brick parapet every 2 feet with 2 by 3 feet masonry screws, or 3-inch maybe. Per attachment, each side of the railing has 4 anchor points. Each section of railing is attached to one another at the corners with 2 by screws. The purpose of the railing is to provide protection for rooftop access for maintenance. And attached photos of the existing light and the light that was approved for the adjacent Bethany Flats. The lights installed on the front entrance match the previously approved as stated before. Staff recommends to continue the application to allow applicant time to provide the previous requested materials that provide further information for BZS for the reasoning of the railing. It's standard, basis of staff rep 311611, standards for alteration. Thank you.
All right, we'll jump into the railing probably first on the turret. So that actually kind of evolved on 2 fronts. Originally, we were having issues getting our HVAC supply runs into that turret. So we were entertaining doing a separate mini split system because that's a bathroom in the lower arched windows, the start of a bathroom with a conditioned kind of turret living space where the windows are. So we were having issues getting heating into that room. So we were going to do a private mini head system. And then instead of mounting that or coming to staff to mount that on the turret, we were going to put it on top of that rooftop area. Hence needing some protective railing up there from BZS. We ultimately were able to not need that mini split system, elected to keep that railing up there for maintenance access because there is a scuppered up there, downspout, EPDM rubber roof, and the parapet without that railing is actually really shallow. Concerning the design of the horizontal slats, that was not mandated by City of Columbus, the inspectors. We actually just, from other neighbors on the street, I've actually got some photos as well. That's been an approved design intent previously in Italian Village with the horizontal slats and the 2-inch tube steel posts. So we just went off a previously approved design for that horizontal, but that was not dictated by any body. Reasoning, horizontal design. So with the structural engineer, I don't know, does that suffice with the photos? I mean, we've got a full certificate of occupancy from the City of Columbus. It was inspected. Were the lag screw notes and like the photos, does that suffice?
Don't keep going and then questions.
Yeah, okay. I think the predominance of the notes were concerning that rail in the guard tower. To my understanding, the festoon lighting and the post extensions were verbally approved because they match the same design and thickness as the approved rail. 2 glass sconces, to my understanding, given the approval for the 295 East Fourth with a similar light. That was verbally, not officially approved by the commission, but in the last meeting, verbally approved. Same with the festoon lighting. There was no concern with the festoon lighting itself, just making sure that those posts matched with the design intent. And they
I
do
would say verbal approval versus support.
support,
But,
right? Yeah,
for the
thank you.
commission.
Yep. Obviously, they're still on here, so we'd have to address that, but I know most of it was about, most of the concern was that tower, the railing, where it came about, why it was horizontal.
Okay.
I do have some photos of neighboring homes with the exact same style. Does that help?
No.
Okay, okay.
You,
So I'm surprised it was approved, because of the horizontal bars and the height. The height is 43, 42 inches, and that's a guardrail. Typically, guardrails are required to have vertical posts rather than, horizontal to prevent climbing and jumping. So I'm really surprised by that this was approved. The attachments don't look great. They don't look very substantial, but those have also been inspected and approved. I don't know what we say about that. But beyond that, just aesthetically, it would have been probably preferable that this rail on your top match more closely your rail on the ground plane. Thoughts, I mean, just comments that I have.
he can't respond yet.
Oh, okay.
Carl?
I'm concerned about the safety of that rail up there. Just reiterating, if it was a handrail, that could be 36 inches high, and then in some cases you could have horizontal, but I've worked on projects where they didn't even allow that. And I also agree that the railing that you have at the ground level is much nicer, lighter. Looks like the spacing is better, and I don't feel comfortable approving something, and I'm also confused why they would have done that. So I do have a problem with that for safety, from a safety standpoint. Just is so easy for somebody to climb up on that and climb over it. Fall.
Anything else to add?
I appreciate the safety piece, but I'm going to approach this simply from an architectural standpoint. This is completely inappropriate feature that steals the show from an architectural parapet that should be itself. I do not buy the maintenance part because contractors set up temporary kinds of safety measures all day long, all year long, to make routine inspections and repairs. And we know that those repairs and inspections don't have to occur very often. They occur when maintenance is required and or inspections are required, and those are just happen sporadically. So, and there are ways to make sure that workers are safe, and that's within the realm of the contractor's responsibilities to themselves and to their employees. So I know that this is up there because there wants to be that sort of temptation of slipping up there as a resident or perhaps somebody else that has access to it. And of course, all these safety concerns have much more to do with that kind of situation than contractors who are completely insured. So again, this is an inappropriate architectural addition to a handsome parapet tower. And I will not support that. The other elements, I take no exception.
So I think what you're hearing, I agree with multiple commissioners. So I think that, you know, if you want, we can take action tonight, which would be not approving the application, or you can withdraw. And I mean, frankly, if BZA no longer needs us here because there's no air conditioning problem or heating problem, I would just take it down. But even if you don't, if for some reason you're really gonna not want to take it down, it is clearly going to need to be altered. So I'll kind of leave that with you of what you would like us to do this evening.
So could we address the other items separately? Would that be okay?
Yes.
You know, aside from the railing and the turret, you know, the festoon lighting, the sconce lighting,
Yeah,
the
so,
risers on the post, is that something that we could?
yeah, can I?
Yeah.
Ben, you have nothing to add for it?
I will go along with the other commissioners on their,
Brooke, do you have anything?
No.
Carla?
No.
Okay, so let's split that into an A and B motion.
I move to, application, what is the, excuse me, I just got a little lost there.
Oh, you're fine.
Application 23-06-010, 285 East Fourth Avenue, Bethany Church, to approve the light fixtures in the, it's the second.
The posts.
Yeah, the post, festoon lighting and bistro lights.
Post festoon lighting,
Festoon.
as submitted here this evening.
So posts, festoon lighting and bistro lights. And that is part A.
Yeah, those are all the elements to this application.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And thank you. And then I will just to address the concerns with the tower. I'll go back to our team internally, reach out to staff with the decision. I just can't make that call right here, right now. RE, the contractors, I do hear that, but it's our own internal maintenance crew, and we prefer them not on ladders on a steep pitch roof. Just FYI on that. And it's not a accessible space to the tenant in the building, and not a public space.
We can wait until until the next hearing to.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to address those on record.
So we'd like to continue.
So we
back-
We'll continue the, yeah, sorry,
Good. Are you finished?
yes.
So I should give you a motion to continue
Yes.
on part B, right? So I move on 23-06-010 to B to continue the parapet rail application piece.
Yes. To allow applicant time to look into options.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you send Jason in? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Saves us the steps. Appreciate it.
Let's see.
Let's see. I guess that.
His wife works for city.
So 2 is, that with the staff approval, right?
Yes.
So
Continue application number 2 is moved to staff approval. Number three was continued at the July hearing. I accidentally forgot to add it before the business meeting, so I have added it to this hearing. It's just for 295 fifth for the door that was continued at that time. The applicant is also unable to attend for that application, so our recommendation would be to continue that one.
Do we need to make a motion to do that? Can I have a motion to continue IV 2307-116B?
I'll make that motion to continue as requested.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Oh,
Second.
thank you. Carla, second. Okay, sorry, Jason, go.
We're on to the fourth application, IV 230809, 1040 North Fourth Street.
guys.
Hello.
Would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Colin Brinkman.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
I did.
So we'll have staff describe it to us and we'll turn it over to you.
For 1040 North Fourth Street, proposed work description, installing 9-foot by 10 and 5/8 inch by 8-inch GE sign. I believe that 9-foot might be wrong, so calling out to correct me on that, apologies. Sign in southwest storefront bulkhead portion, sign to be PVC and stud mounted. Install 1-foot 7-inch by 8-inch and 1/2-inch villa sign in northwest storefront bulkhead portion, building bracket to be PVC and stud mounted as well. Applicant initially reached out with their COA application for new signage in late June, which included signage in the sign ban, as well as the signage in the bulkhead portions on the storefront. Company name was originally proposed to be PVC lettering installed directly to the existing wood band. Staff informed applicant that the signage in the sign band did not match the previously approved tenant sign band package for 1050 North 4th Street, COA IV 23-01005, and we'd recommend following that approval instead of the recently approved Peach House signage from IV 23-05011. Applicant revised the application to match the approved tenant sign package with removal of the bulkhead signage and received a staff approval, IV 23-08008. Staff informed applicant that the bulkhead signage would need to be submitted separately to be reviewed by the commission if wanting to continue with that design. At the August business meeting, commissioners stated the following. Commissioners stated they would not be in support of the 2 bulkhead panel signs. They need more clarification on the signage and if it is part of the company's branding. Signage appears to be low to the ground and non-pedestrian focused. Staff does not support the additional signage in the bulkhead portion based on Short North design guidelines. Signage page 3.37, 3.41. Each ground floor tenant space or building, if single tenant occupancy, may have only 1 projecting sign and either 1 wall sign or awning sign as approved by the commission. The commissioners' staff recommendation is for the commissioners to continue the application to allow applicant time to look into alternative signage options and location on the storefront instead of the bulkhead portions. Basis of staff rec is Short North design guidelines, signage page 3.37 and 3.41.
Okay, see what you have to say.
Yeah, so yeah, my client here, they, as far as like the branding goes of their other locations and whatnot, I'm not aware of any in Central Ohio. You know, that's something I never really got a firm answer on, if it's detrimental to their branding and everything like that. I'm mostly here for, I guess, the location of it. Obviously, it's not pedestrian friendly, as you guys mentioned. And, you know, I was just curious mostly about the location of it. You know, what, if it is part of their branding and it is significantly needed, I mean, is that a possible area that it could be approved? Yeah, so I told him I'd show up today and, you know, do my best, but I know based off the business meeting, it's, you know, probably slim to none, so.
Yeah. We'll go through
Yeah.
the group of us. Just saying from a perspective of precedent, I can't think of any time that we've had signage there ever.
Okay.
In any buildings. More so though, for this particular building, I just happened to walk directly past it on my way to vote. It just doesn't make any sense. Like it's a really weird place for a sign. Like no one could see it. I mean, it makes sense for dogs if it's a dog business. I'm not trying to be facetious. It's
No,
like,
I
it
got
really doesn't make any sense. I was walking by, I'm like, oh yeah, that's where they want to put that sign. It's a very strange place. The one thing I think I would encourage you to do is talk to staff about window signage, because you do have quite a bit of flexibility with things you can put adhering in windows, of which we wouldn't even have anything to say if we had the guidelines. So with that, let's just kind of go down the line. Ben, do you want to jump in on this one?
I agree with you and just want to, but I'll reiterate that it just seems unprecedented to put down on the knee. I am in support of everything I see in the
Except for the.
upper band, only understand that 1040s are not supposed to be there. So we're only looking at the Ingalls and Volkers, and I have no exception, I take no exception to that. I am just going to request that if and when we get this to a point of action, that you're resubmitting the drawings with the elements only that we've approved on it before the COA stamp goes on. And that should also include the cap height indicated in that section drawing for the Ingalls and Volkers, which is not on there.
Okay.
Carla, do you have thoughts?
I think if you go back to the drawing that was approved. It's exactly as Ben is describing it. And I look at it here, I mean, what page it is, 5 of 10. And it's really nice. Everything is clean, it makes sense, and I think that was your first job. It was a nice one. And then I agree with Jason that, you know, if you wanted to add some things in the window area, that seems like a much more appropriate place to put it.
Okay.
Brooke, you have thoughts?
Nothing to add. I agree with everything that's been said.
Okay.
Shannon?
Nothing to add.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Any other questions you have for us?
No, I'll talk to him about the window vinyl. I think that's a good option, so.
Sounds good. We are, I'm curious, curiosity, because I couldn't tell from the branding, what kind of business is it?
Real estate, I
Okay,
believe.
that's what I figured a little.
Yeah.
All right, so, you're okay with us continuing this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do I have a motion for that to the next regular meeting? Do we have, is that what you asked us for? So-
Or do it
Yes.
tonight?
No, tonight.
Oh, sorry, what?
You did ask us to.
Yes, to continue to look into other alternative, you know, sites to opt, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
move
just for the
to
PUD bills.
continue 04IV 23080009.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. All right, hopefully we'll see you soon. with
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're, I'm sorry, here. We are on IV 2308-010, 1088 North High. And I believe there are two for this one. correct?
Yes.
We just went in whenever you get settled. If you would just raise your right hand and state your name for the record,
Cheryl Frizzell.
and you promise to tell the truth to your best of your ability in your testimony.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So we'll have staff first and then over to you.
So proposed work description for this application, this is the result of a code violation. Applicant has installed 36-inch by 145-inch vinyl graphics wrapped over existing sign standard annex located on the west elevation. Application is a response to code violation. The standard annex sign was recently installed without approval to be wrapped around the previously approved Monte Cristo House of Cigar wall sign. Previous signage was approved in October 2011. The sign was originally approved at 36 square feet, but exceeds the maximum 25 square feet allowable by the short length guidelines. It was approved at this size due to the storefront being significantly removed from High Street lot line, and additional size is needed for readability. Original sign was 0.25 max metal flat wall sign with vinyl lettering. At the August business meeting, the commissioners made the following comments and recommendations. Current vinyl wrap materials and inappropriate material. Recommend applicant to look into installing a similar material that was used previously on the sign or something comparable that is not vinyl wrap. Sign will need to be discussed further at the hearing. Staff recommends to continue application IV 23-08010 to allow applicant time to look at additional sign material options instead of the vinyl wrap, and to allow applicant owner time to submit applications to address the additional code violations for the property. Basis of staff rec is Short North Design Guidelines, signage, pages 3.37, 3.41, and 311613, standards for site improvements, letter C.
Okay. What are your thoughts today?
Well, we've talked to our client and we are suggesting that we print this on a new substrate, either PVC or dye bond, and hold it at the 25 square feet. So they're in violation, or not, they're not in violation.
Okay, let's go down the line for folks to get a little more detail into the
I mean,
details of this. Go ahead.
I think the response is simple as one, if that is your recommendation, then we're gonna need to see it in the application. Two, I highly doubt that that will suffice. And so your client would want to think of something a little bit, something that would fit better into the neighborhood and that is more appropriate. Something similar to what we've approved in the past on that.
Okay.
street. So.
Okay, Ben, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. So I think that you don't have support for today's application or that verbal option you just presented necessarily, especially without knowing what it is. So just keep in mind that we're looking for creative elements that feel appropriate to the neighborhood. So putting up panels and or vinyl graphics that is kind of less appropriate.
Okay,
Harley, what do you have thoughts?
I would agree with what's been said before, and I think that I was maybe the only one who said something positive, and I like that you're doing something different. And there's this kind of dematerialized sense about it. If that was put on one of our kind of approved bases and that type of thing, I think that it would feel much more permanent.
okay,
And this one does.
okay.
Brooke, your thoughts?
I agree with everything that's been said. I think the idea that this is printed on vinyl, but looking like it's worn and having a patina just on vinyl just doesn't cut it. But if that were an actual metal material, that would probably be more appropriate.
Yeah, and that's what we're proposing, to put it on a die-bond metal, so, okay.
And so just to explain it, because I'm not familiar with that term, would that metal then, would it be completely covered edge to edge with some sort of a coating, or would that have the exposed areas that would then sort of continue to age?
It would be printed directly on the metal material, but it would look like that. So, I mean, it's not gonna age anymore,
Oh, gotcha,
because when it prints, it's already UV coated.
gotcha. Okay.
If I may,
Yeah, please.
I'm going to recommend that you take a look at two locations for
Okay,
inspiration. One is the Eagle on High Street
okay,
that used just letters and allowed there's no background except the parapet of the building.
okay.
And the other is the old Caseta.
Yeah, now it's Go-Go's.
I don't know if the graphics still exist, but
You can still see it. They try to
there,
watch
we
them.
have in some cases allowed for ghost or specific sort of craft developed ghost signs
Okay,
on brick. So I think those are things that have been have gotten through. It may not get through this commission today, but I think that's a good possibility it may. So you should take a look at those and some other types of sign elements that occur on brick.
okay.
Okay, other thoughts or questions that you have for us today to get a better understanding of where you might head?
No.
Okay. And you are our next applicant as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, staff,
Before
do
we continue.
you want to, oh, yeah, please.
Oh, yes, just before we continue on to the next application, if that's where you're going. If we could continue this one.
If we continue before we continue?
Yes.
Yeah. So are you okay with us continuing until the next regular meeting?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that application is continued. Now we will continue.
Thank you.
To the next one, which is IV 230811, 1100 High Street. Okay, staff will let you fill us in on this one.
Of course. Proposed work description, this is again, a result of a code violation. Installed 54-inch by 35.75-inch projecting blade sign on southwest corner. Sign is externally illuminated. Sign has been installed since 2018. The currently installed signage was previously reviewed at the December 2016 hearing. It was continued at that time. The following is taken from the approved December 2016 hearing minutes. Commissioners reiterated previous signage feedback per the existing sign approval. An additional sign will not be supported. If the projecting sign is selected and perused, it would need to have internal conduit and have the list of services removed from the sign. Sign was installed around 2018 without receiving approval. At the August business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Sign will need to be discussed further. Commissioners would be in support with a lower sign than graphics typically permits. Commissioners would be in more support of the option 2 sign that does not include the additional wording. Asked if the applicant could look into different external lighting options for the sign, and asked staff to look into the painted murals sign on the side of the building to verify that sign has been approved. Staff has verified that there was a COA issued for the current painted standard hall wall sign on the south elevation, 16.530B. Applicant was to render one test letter on the wall for review and approval by Commissioner Goodman prior to painting the new sign directly on the brick wall. We were unable to locate that portion of it.
Just real quickly.
Yes.
I think we might be talking about two different things.
Oh,
I
okay.
was actually talking about that vinyl screwed on graphic that says the short north with a heart on it.
Oh,
Because it used to.
my apologies.
Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, I don't remember if we ever approved it, but even if we did, it used to match the wall. I think that was the gimmick. It was like, supposed to
Yeah.
look like graffiti out there, but now it's just like a faded, weird thing. If it's still there, I assume it is from this picture.
That I can't confirm, maybe the applicant can confirm that.
We didn't do that work, but
Right.
what I'm assuming is the graphic is faded.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it could be taken down and redone to blend in to look like the existing brick.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time believing that we would approve that permanently.
Yeah.
So I would think even if we did, it was with a time limit.
Mhm.
So if you can look into that.
Yes.
And then if in the future you do still want that graphic, then I think we'd want you to reapply for that. And I would suggest, our standard practice for vinyl graphics has been vinyl applied graphics for a period of time because this kind of stuff always happens.
Sure.
So it kind of just ended up being there, even if it was supposed to be there for a year. Now it's been like 6 years or something.
Yes.
So,
He has a bigger one like that.
gotcha.
I will look into that.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Helping the overall sign. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
To continue staff report, where did I leave off? I apologize. Oh, staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of application IV 23-08-011 as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with the following condition. The condition being commission approves option 2 in lieu of what is currently installed. Basis of staff recommendation is short notes design guidelines, signage, page 3.37, 3.41. And again, 31-16-13 standard for site improvements, letter C.
Okay, sounds good. Over to you.
So, I mean, we're suggesting to the client and to the commission to redo the sign and remove the verbiage on the bottom that says eat, drink, and just have the logo.
Gotcha. Okay. Thoughts up here?
I'm good with option 2.
Okay.
Ben, thoughts?
Agreed. I will support option 2.
Carla?
I agree also, and in that one, how is the lighting going to, it wasn't quite clear on that.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the lighting needs to come down altogether. I mean, like it's not.
I mean, the proposal that was shown before that had the tube light at the top and the bottom, but it's also an 8-inch sign, not a thin sign. Are you thinking of something like that or just thinking of removing
Removing,
the light altogether?
yeah,
Gotcha.
I think I'm fine with that.
okay.
Would be fine with just what you described for the lighting and the option 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problems with this. One thing I did want to mention that we talked about in the business meeting is that sometimes we see some variation in the distance from the bottom of the sign to the ground that is completely in conformance with code. And I can't remember if this is that case, but I do think it's important for us to look at the context of these. And I think Commissioner Goodman pointed out that the actual, there's, I don't know what that is, the canopy is obviously a lot lower. So clearly this shouldn't be a specific issue with any kind of, maintenance vehicles and or people walking down the street. But in general, I think we probably should take another look at that as part of the overall zoning code because I'm not sure it really makes cohesive sense in all cases to have that minimum height. With that, sounds like everybody's in favor. Do you have any other questions for us?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion on this one?
I'll move to approve IV 23-08-011 with the condition that option 2 is option carried out and that the lighting above the sign is removed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks a lot. And we'll see you back for the other one.
All right, thank you.
Okay, where are we? Staff and object, number 7. Okay, IV 2308-012, 35 East Hubbard Avenue. Where you're settled, we'll go down the row. If you can each put your right hands up, we'll start. Daniel with you and just state your name for the record.
Dan Haynes.
Mark Wood, Derek Bowler.
And you all promise to tell the truth in your testimony this evening.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweetie. This is proposed work description for modification to previously approved design, IV 22-06006. Modification includes new light fixtures along all elevations. As indicated in the drawings, W1 will be an up-down light or equivalent installed on the first floor. W2 is up light only or equivalent installed on the fourth floor. W3 is art light, alcon lighting or equivalent on the east elevation for the mural space. And W4 is for gas lantern, the Coppersmith Monio 29 natural gas lantern or equivalent on the west and east elevation along the sides of the entrance doors. Additionally, there's proposed change to mural space, and instead of just two divided, there's one single space now and proposed mural. Project was recently approved for design changes in materials in January 2023, IV 2301-006, and in June 2022, IV 22-06006. At the time of the January approval, the fourth floor uplighting was not approved at that time, with the applicant needing to return to the commission with a lighting study for final review. Applicant has returned to propose the previously reviewed uplighting on all elevations on the fourth floor, including changes to the mural space from two separate spaces to one. During previous east elevation revision that was approved in June 2022, the commission made the condition for the single mural space that was proposed to be divided with at least one continuous pilaster that meets the ground, option for applicant to extend all three dividers to meet the ground as well. The August business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Some commissioners are in agreement with proposed lighting. Most commissioners seem to be in support with changing the two separate mural portions into one. Some commissioners were not in agreement with the sconces around the building. They stated the lighting proposed on the park side of the building would be inappropriate and would be more appropriate on Hubbard elevation. New ground signs are, no, that is not part of that one, sorry. Commissioners asked for further clarification on placement of the mural lighting, if they will be horizontally or vertically placed. Staff recommends approval of application IV 23-08012 as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of certificate with conditions. The conditions being to remove the fourth floor proposed lighting and to install a more contemporary light fixture in lieu of proposed copper gas lanterns. Based on IV guidelines, page 19, the use of coach lights and old-looking fixtures are not appropriate as they attempt to create an earlier appearance that has no historical basis. If approved, staff recommends the light to be downlit and not to be uplighting for the fourth floor fixtures. Basis of staff rec is short range design guidelines murals, page 3.26, lighting, page 3.25, and Italian Village guidelines lighting, page 19. Not appropriate for residential and non-residential. The use of floodlights to light up the entire facade of structure is not appropriate. It is not in keeping with historic lighting methods. The use of coach lights and old light fixtures as stated before.
All right. Over to you, gentlemen.
I guess one thing just broadly with the lighting, the park has been a real problem with, even our construction workers have been harassed and have witnessed all sorts of things. So one of the things that we really wanted to do that was to make sure that we provide lighting for safety around the building. I think originally we weren't planning on doing as much on all four sides of the building, but as we've just kind of experienced the site over the last year and a half, we think that's really critical. Alley does not have good lighting here. I think originally the city even said that they wanted us to add lighting to the alley side of the building, but the park site's really where people congregate. The gas lanterns, we picked a style that we felt was more contemporary and feel like it really provides a softness to the building that we think is appropriate. So we hope that we will see that the same way. It's a very linear fixture rather than something more traditional like we've done on the Dennison building or the Diplomat building. We think it's more in keeping with the clean lines of the building. And then the mural, I think the artist did a great job in his middle of kind of explaining how and why he wanted to have kind of a larger footprint of space to represent his work. One of the things I'm concerned about with the artwork, frankly, is just all the kind of tree coverage and kind of the park, where this is a bigger investment than what most of the people have made in public art. It's a 6+ figure investment that's a mosaic tile. And I think really a substantial piece. So I do worry, we've talked a little bit to Parks and Rec and have, I think had some discussions of them trimming up tree limbs on a tree that faces the mural. I'm hoping that we can go back and get some different consideration. And I'd like to kind of hear everyone's feedback on that, because it's a honey locust tree right there. Is that right? The tree?
I believe black locust is one of them.
But there's one that's just kind of dead on the mural, and when you have this kind of a significant mural public art with the type of investment that's being made, we think sightline is really critical. So that's, we're here to answer questions, but that's just kind of where we're coming from.
Okay, who wants to begin this one? Strong thoughts?
I guess I'll start. There are a couple things that are kind of vexing here to me. I always felt that the art should be deferential, any sort of art anywhere should be deferential to the architecture, since that's what we're here to do, is review architecture. And I mean, in some ways, I would have been biased to that there would have been 4 apertures there instead of 2, let alone 1, just because it honors the architecture, the intent of meeting the ground appropriately. That said, I totally appreciate your efforts on getting this to go mosaic. That is not lost on me. I think it's a fantastic idea and implementation that is extremely appropriate for not only the community, or for the our district, but also the park, as it faces the park. So I think that I just want to make sure that the record shows that the reasons why I might not approve a similar kind of opening, but at the same time think this is appropriate here, because the extending circumstances of great art being implemented. I will defer to the designers to make sure it's illuminated appropriately. I'm understanding it's fairly concealed, or kind of sort of edge lit, as opposed to projecting fixtures. But in any case, I'll defer that to you guys. I also agree that it would be appropriate for the park elements, planted elements, to somewhat frame, or at least yield a little bit to the view of the art itself, and would support you on your efforts to do that, even that's outside of our purview. I am not very favorable of the lighting that's being proposed. I think that if you're concerned about lighting, then take it off the building and put it where it needs to be, down on the ground, or again, lean into the parks. And after all, the parks, that element has not been developed yet, so I'm sure there's going to be more lighting coming that way, and I'm sure they're considering safety as much as you are. I feel that's an argument made to keep the up and down sconces in, and I personally feel like up and down sconces are kind of a cheap workaround of better architecture. So I just generally speaking think that we should be not applying little pasty elements like lighting elements onto buildings arbitrarily. They should be featuring where the entrance goes, or walk paths and so forth. So, but that said, I would support them if other commissioners do on the Hubbard Street side, especially, I guess I should reinforce that, to me, the lighting of the park belongs to the park. It doesn't belong to the building. So again, the building should be a feature element of the park view. Maybe the art should be, but the park is first, not the building. So I will pass the baton on. Well, let me just clarify that I'm support of the art and I'm supportive part of the lighting that you're proposing.
And before we continue on to additional commissioner comments, just to clarify, there was lighting approved during the time of the park review. That has not received final approval yet. We're still waiting on additional elements from them, but there was lighting included in that design, so just as a reminder.
Great, thanks. Carly, your thoughts?
I do have a question, but I pretty much agree with everything Ben said, and so since I'm saying that, I have to explain. A long time ago, they had these 2-day classes you could take at Harvard about urban safety, and at the end of 2 days, they said, add as much light as you can and don't create hiding spaces. So I think the idea of bringing lighting out into the site, which I hear you are doing, is a really critical one, and that feels important to me. I agree too that I don't really like the repetition of that many can lights, and having them at entrances and certain places like that would be more effective. The hymn piece is amazing. Not that that matters to anything, but I just had to say it. And so I can see your concern about having a tree in front of it, and you know that I like trees. So to me, it always feels better if you're going to do something like that, that you plant 2 or 3 trees or something in place of that one, and you know, to give, you know, kind of a like situation. What else do I need to say? I think that's it. I'm a little confused where the second mural goes, the one that is the floral, small parts.
There's just one mural.
Okay.
They were, yeah, there's just one mural.
Okay, that was the question that I had. That's everything.
Brooke?
I don't have much more to add. I think it's fine to have one mural panel. In fact, I think it's probably stronger, having one panel. I don't think the lighting on the on the 4th floor up is needed. I don't think that would help with the security concerns. And I just think there's too many. If you have them, I get it, you know, but if maybe there's a site plan that shows street lighting, and if there's enough street lighting to prohibit.
Yeah, so there is no street lighting on the alley all the way around. So we've added it because we've really been concerned about traffic and pedestrian safety and those kinds of pieces. I mean, I agree that we typically wouldn't have as many, but since there is no street lighting, that's why I think the base is where we're mostly concerned. To make sure that we get the proper amount of lighting there just for safety and places around the building.
So, entrances for sure, I think. Maybe there's a way to introduce lighted bollards or something. I just think there's too many lights on the west and, what would that be? On all the elevations, other than the east elevation where the mural is, and that, I think, probably does want some light on either side of the mural, just so that the mural doesn't become too much of a contrast at night. I would agree with Commissioner Trott about if you're taking down a tree, that it should be replaced with 2 or 3 others.
To clarify, before we continue, the tree, I believe, is part of the park correct, or is that's the park's property for that?
Yeah.
It's been met.
I wanted to have conversations. I hope to ask for a meeting with the director of Parks and Rec. And I wanted to see what the feedback was from the group. And just so everyone knows, I mean, we have put in 6 figures into the park as well as part of our building of this building. That was agreed to early on. So,
I have nothing additional to add other than the lighting should just be at the entrances except for on the park facing side. Certainly, if anything, it should only be on the first floor. It does not need to be on higher levels. And I do like the idea of the bollards. Something within the park to feel safe, because frankly, the
No.
building being lit up.
yeah,
is not
I mean,
safe.
Parks and Rec, our building's on the property line. So
I
we
understand,
can't-
but you're asking us about a tree in the park, so we'll have
Sure.
to talk to the city about
Sure.
lighting in the park.
Yeah, and they presented a plan to you. I can't remember exactly what the lighting plan is, but they came to the commission and got your approval for,
I think
Yeah.
it was Jason Kent.
Well,
so.
Yeah, I guess, slightly different, of a slightly different mind than everybody else. I think the more lighting we get on the park side, the better in any way. And I do think it matters if I think it does help if there's lighting on the upper parts of the building. I mean, not as much as on the lower parts. I think the biggest challenge we're gonna have with this redone park is safety. And particularly in the evening, we're in an urbanized neighborhood. And, I think we've all become aware of the increasing challenges that have been prevalent in the neighborhood over the last couple of years. So I don't have that issue. But again, I'm one person on the commission, so, and I really don't have that issue on the other side of the building either. I don't find this, I mean, you have a nice building, don't get me wrong, but I don't find it to be like a particularly precious building that is, made amazingly better or amazingly worse by having lighting or no lighting. So from my perspective, if you're interested in that, particularly on the park side, I think that's a big addition for me. That being said, I have one voice, and I'm not certainly going to advocate for it any stronger than that. The mural piece is fantastic. I really appreciate you giving us the artist's conceptual document. I thought that was really nice to read through. Not that we are approving or disapproving the mural, but I just appreciate that. The one thing I will say about the trees, a little context, we did a pro bono plan for that park at a previous firm 20 years ago. It got pretty shoddily installed. It's a whole other story. Luckily, this has all come to fruition where now we have money to redo this park and you're contributing all those great things. That being said, I personally have always felt like that park was a little overgrown. But I also have that opinion that others may not share. I think Goodale Park is overgrown too. And I think a lot of parks are overgrown. And I think that we get a little precious about the individual trees at the expense of the overall vision of the park. That's just my take. I can't tell. I just looked at this on Google Street Map, so I don't know. But it looks like you got a couple of oaks that sort of frame that space. I'm trying to remember back to when we were thinking about conceptualizing this park. And we originally were really trying to reduce a lot of the understory, which I think causes a little bit of a safety concern myself, and in exchange for more specimen trees, and not only one or two, but a sort of a revolving age group of those trees that were large enough that as one lost its, got to the end of its life, another one would succeed it, but without ever crowding that park. And that, to me, seems to be what happens to all these urban parks, is because the voices that freak out about cutting a tree down end up being a lot louder than the voice who wants to cut a tree down. So if it's up to me, I could give you out there with a chainsaw and knock down a tree in order to see this building better, as long as you had the framing of those really majestic trees, which I think are the oak trees, and then you have board maples, as far as I can tell. And I'm not an expert at all that, but I will say that if you were to replant 2 trees, I don't think they necessarily should be park trees. Maybe they should be street trees or something else. I think it should fit into the context of this larger park plan. And I think we really need to open up the understory of that. And I think we'd be at a great advantage with soapboxing now, but especially at parks like this and at Goodale and other parks that are urban. If you could stand, you could generally see across the park it would be a way better park because I don't want to go to those parks at night.
So if I can get a meeting with the
Yeah.
director, where you go,
I mean, we're gonna have their own opinion, you know, but, and frankly, the Italian Village Society may have a completely different.
Sure.
than I do. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's an opportunity for us to sort of.
Hey, make a proposal for everyone about the lighting. You know, I'd propose that you allow us to at least put in the infrastructure, we can cover the light fixtures. If, and that, but at least it would be in place so that if people, we could come back and get approval if we felt like lighting was not sufficient in the park long-term, there'd be a mechanism for kind of addressing that issue without flooding the building with light today. You know, I mean, we're at the point where we need to put that into limestone, need to, kind of get the infrastructure in. And I think that could be something that would provide for a safety net down the road if we, like I said, I can't quote to anyone here what the lighting plan is for the park. And I don't think any of us really remember exactly what they've done. We just know it's been a, problem park, and that, we really want to do what we can to, this is a, a one-time opportunity to kind of put infrastructure in at least, even if we don't put all the lights on.
I actually have a different viewpoint of that, and actually would prefer to see the lighting continued. And if you need to place, J boxes where the lighting needs to be, then so be it. But I think the meeting with the parks should happen first before we make our final decisions about the lighting that we might support or approve, and that it's possible this is divided into parts where we vote on the mural and its location, and also vote on the lighting and continuance. But that's my thought, and be interested in chair.
I agree. I mean, I think that you will, I think if you come back one more time with a lighting proposal, you'll probably get it approved, personally.
Okay.
If it's a little less and a little bit more intentional.
I think we're kind of, Derek can talk more to the timeline for our need to put infrastructure in, but
Yeah, I mean, so I guess one of the things that makes it a little bit unique is it's all real limestone and granite. I mean, so it's a little more labor intensive to cut those holes perfectly and correctly and making sure everything's kind of nice and neat. So that's one of the things we're kind of pushing for. I mean, if we could break, since there's kind of 3 or 4 different fixtures, even breaking that up to get it rolling on some of it, like if we like the gas lanterns, or if we, if there's elements that would be more supportive of, I would, would appreciate that from
I don't think that we're gonna allow you to put holes in the front of the limestone ever until we know where the lighting is gonna go. So whatever you do to the back of it to prep it and put electrical boxes behind it, that's up to you.
you can't bury the junction boxes, unfortunately. We need them behind.
Yeah, I mean,
the challenge we have is that, we're concerned about safety, especially, I mean, the park is one thing, but on the other 3 sides, we have no dimension to get lighting into those areas. And for us to then come back and say, oh, it is too dark, we do feel it's unsafe, and there's no way for us to solve, and then the city is not going to come back in and install street lighting. Those are our kind of concerns.
On the west side, there's a 4-foot sidewalk and alley. On the south side, there is no sidewalk, it's just asphalt. And that, I mean, that was a request from the city lighting, like the middle side of things. The power department was, how are we gonna, keep this, safe pedestrian alley being right off of High Street?
I don't know if you can answer this, Steph. It's been kind of an unfair question because I don't know. We've heard the suggestion or encountered it before. Obviously, we have a purview over the exterior materials. That being said, there are things that get cut into that all the time. They're not explicitly, drawn on the plans for fire and other things and conduits. Do we actually have a purview to say, yes, you can do that temporarily, or no temporary, or whatever they're asking? I mean, do we even have that? Or if they do that and then there are covers on there, there's really anything we can do about it?
That is a great question, Commissioner Sudi. I'm not sure if there's a full answer to that. I mean, of course, we have the purview of what the design is,
Right.
and that would be a change in the design.
Yeah.
Adding those conduits in, it is, our city code guidelines. So, I mean, I think we do kind of have a say in that way, especially if we aren't approving lights at this time. I will say the first floor lighting was previously approved as downlit before, but the 4th floor lighting is new. And then, of course, the entrance lighting are new. If I'm correct.
I think we've added some front light as well,
Yes.
just because of trying to make sure we have enough light
Mhm.
for traffic and safety. I mean,
So I guess one of the questions just to clarify, because we're kind of different in different directions, are we generally in agreement with, as a commission, that the first floor lighting is okay, or is that not the case?
I'm fine with first floor.
We're talking about sconces.
I mean, whatever these locations, in whatever type of, sometimes lighting is to be determined by us or them or whomever in conjunction. I guess though, is what I'm trying to get is location of the first floor lighting.
They're approximately 10 feet in the air. Kind of the site grade changes, but it's roughly there.
Like, basically, I'm asking the quantity and the location, even if we don't know exactly what the fixtures are, because it sounds like what they're trying to do. If we all think that lighting can and should go there, then I think that's okay, pending future lighting selection.
Well, I may be in the minority, but I just think that artifact lighting fixtures are inappropriate. You know, they're concealed, and frankly, I have less concern about, floors on up, especially because the fixtures are less visible.
Gotcha.
Or just about the lighting itself. So I may have a problem with some of those fixtures on the first floor, except for those around the footprint of the entranceways and the sidewalks. Now, that said, I did leave an opening for, what might happen on the alley side, in either alley side or Hubbard. And so I'll let you guys move forward with a motion that might or might not include those things. But I would ask the applicant, I mean, is this even necessary to grind this all out right now? Is this critical to your timeline where a month can't be allowed to allow everybody to look at this and your feedback from the parks allow a better decision?
But, I think, I think we've assumed that we've had the park side approved from the early approval. We just need to come back with a, fixture and get that fixture approved. And I think, Derek, again, you can, and Dan, you're the ones who are reviewing shop drawings and releasing stuff, so I don't know exactly what you already know.
Granite and limestone are coming the first week of September, is my fear. And just how much they want to cut that on the ground and get it up there. And those are actually really quite big pieces. Some of them are 400 or 500 pound pieces.
So just if I can interrupt for real quick, staff, are the numbers of fixtures on the first floor in conformance and in location where the previous application was approved?
Yes, for the first floor.
So,
And as well as the mural lighting.
so really, you can do whatever you want because you have that approval. As far as, I mean, you may have to keep coming back and back and back to get a final approval on your sconce or your fixture or whatever. But it sounds like you already have approval to do that on the first floor. You have that as a standing approval, correct?
Yes, from what we've looked at past approvals, that one has
So
to be
that-
approved.
That kind of takes that kind of into the thing. So, yeah, so it sounds like really the question is whether or not we are comfortable with them at least preparing the upper floors, or whether we think that is something we would not want to have happen.
And I think we've added lighting on the alley side.
And okay, so the other side is that. Oh,
I think the park side was always.
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right, that being said, I am in more support of what I'm understanding is in front of us right now.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it all. That's what the commission said.
Including the style of the stuff.
Oh, not the style of the.
We'll come back with
Sorry, yeah.
In terms of locations, I guess.
But we would be adding, some on the alley side and upper, it sounds like what we would be adding if we were to improve those locations. And you're okay not dealing with any of the fixtures today.
Yeah, I think we want to get, your blessing for the gas fixtures at the entry points. But, we'll come back.
So what do people think about these gas fixtures at the entrance?
It's page 11, if that helps.
I don't have an opinion on those.
I just don't understand. I especially don't understand the bulb situation.
It's natural gas.
Or,
It's similar to what Pizzuti put on the gallery over there on Park Street, the historic building there. This, of course, is a new building. We wanted to go more contemporary. I think they did everything within that building as a contemporary twist. But it's a very similar picture to what they did.
Have we approved a gas fixture?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Victorian Village definitely has.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a matter of style. These, I mean, I've just seen a bunch of these on like entrances to like suburban office or suburban apartment complexes lately. So the luster is up, whatever it is, the bloom is off the rose or whatever that phrase
Yeah,
is.
that's what I
For
mean.
me. It's kind of like,
It feels like 5 years ago, 5, 6 years
I don't
ago.
know, just seeing this thing kind of feel like, man. There's so many cool lights out now that are not this, but I mean, I don't care one way or the other. I don't think it's, I don't think it's as cool as the rest of your building, I can tell you that. Because it's clearly not a historic building. I think they're really cool in Jerome Village. Yeah, I think they're cool in Jerome Village outside of the historic column here. I'm like, eh. And what the ones I'm specifically talking about, I know they're not on buildings, but it's still really, that's the first thing I thought of was like the one on Bethel Road and Old Change River Road behind it. It was also, it was an old Kmart.
Don't let the fact that someone else did something.
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's what it makes me think of.
Yeah.
It makes, and there's a bunch of them like all over. It was like a hallmark of genuineness in the suburbs for about 5 years, and I just feel that clouds my judgment.
This is at least not a colonial kind of
No,
party, or, you know, it's a more,
Yeah.
it's a more modern fixture, so
Yeah,
I could say that it couples with the architecture and or, you know, that it's not colonial, you know, for whatever that means for our architectural district.
yeah,
So I guess I could get on board for supporting it if others don't have a strong objection to it.
definitely not as cool as the mosaic piece of art.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah,
So,
have that artist do something. But, you know, if you, the one thing I was wondering about with this 11 is that on page 11, that one, it doesn't seem like it really goes with the cylinder lights. I mean, those to me are contemporary, and this is somewhat that is a transitional piece back to something more colonial. So I'm just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like those two really go.
Is maybe the question whether we're supporting gas and then fixtures decided later?
That's how I feel.
yeah, I mean, from my perspective.
So if we're gonna have to come back with the cylinders, what's your thought on just sort of the black cylinders? To us, those were just to sort of provide light, they're not about the fixture. That's why we sort of picked those. Do you have an issue with those as a fixture?
That's,
Maybe there's a square version.
I'm sure we can find a square version of that. Sorry, behind you on page 8. You know,
And maybe that's the problem, that they're not matching. Like maybe go square or go circle.
But it's also trying to delineate entrance versus just light points. That's why we go to different technology and a different thing.
Well, right, technology could be fine, but I think what I'm saying is the shape of the lights being so different. It might also be what makes it look weird.
I could do a motion that supports locations and types of service required for all the fixtures, but would prefer still to continue the fixtures themselves.
would you be okay with that? Would you be okay making that motion?
I would. So I move on application 23-08-012, 35 East Hubbard, to approve. Do you want the mural to be a separate motion, or can I just put this in the same motion? Continue.
It could be the same motion.
Okay.
Commissioner
So
Goodson.
to approve the mural location and materiality and lighting for it as presented here tonight, and to approve the locations of all light fixtures presented here tonight. I'm sorry, yeah, locations of light fixtures. But to continue, or do I need to do that part as a separate motion?
That would be a separate
Yeah,
motion.
okay. So approve light locations and services, which we understand to be both electric and gas, as presented here tonight. Any motion?
I don't think we've ever had a motion quite like it. I appreciate it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? And abstentions. All right, excellent. Now,
And then I further move to, as a Part B to continue the light fixtures the lighting fixtures, including electric and gas light fixtures as presented here tonight to a future hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continued. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, number 9, IV 2308-014. Yeah, she's here.
Oh, 8 is done?
Yeah, 8 was moved to staff.
Oh, 8 was moved to staff?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant 9, I meant 9, I said the right number, other number, so, okay. Yes, it is you.
I missed that.
101 North Street. When you are ready, will you please raise your right hand, state your name for the record,
Caitlin Dunn?
and your promise to tell the truth in your testimony this afternoon.
Yes.
Excellent, staff.
Proposing to paint a mural on the north elevation facing 4th Street to cover 50% of the wall. Artist is to be Dylan Beck. Building is of new construction, was built 2017. The following is taken from the approved February 14th, 2023 Italian Village Commission meeting. Commissioners recommended 50% coverage on newer brick, but not full coverage of wall in order for it to be breathable. The past August business meeting, the commissioner made the following statements and recommendations. Mural appears to respond well with the architecture. Commissioners stated that their goal for murals would be to get less paint coverage on these buildings. Commissioners asked how well the paint will hold up on the downspouts, as it appears that they are painted within the mural. And they asked if artists would be able to paint the gas meter, and reach out to the gas company to ask. They recommended to maybe not paint the downspouts or gas meter. Staff recommends approval of application IV 2308-014 as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate with conditions. To not paint the downspouts or gas meters, and to use a silica-based paint to allow for a more breathable surface for the brick. Basis for staff recommendation is Short North Design Guidelines, murals, page 3.26.
Yes, so artist is Dylan Beck. He's a local Columbus-based artist. We gave him this wall, kind of gave him the guidelines of the 50%, but also I know last time we chatted, some were yes, some were no, so kind of gave him those loose guidelines. We told him to respond to the architecture of the building, which was feedback from IVC. And then the downspouts, we like the look of the downspouts painted. The artist has a plan to use an acrylic and then a cover on it to make sure they stay. But ultimately, you know, it's not gonna stop the project of using no paint on the downspouts. The electrical meter, we don't plan on painting right now. I think it was just kind of obviously super in here. And then I did want to point out, which I think you noticed, the bike, the bottom of the base of the bike rack was also incorporated, so I wanted to make sure that was okay.
That's good.
And that would be painted similar process to the downspouts to just allow for wear and tear. Now, the paint that the artist suggested was an acrylic base to allow for easier cleanup of graffiti if anything were to happen. But given your feedback during the business meeting to not use acrylic, we could pivot. So that's the information I have.
Just a couple quick things, since that's when I brought up those downspouts.
Yes.
I mean, if they work, it's great. It looks super cool. I think I'm willing to give it a shot. I think the biggest thing for me is that we will, as you continue to obviously be around the neighborhood and you'll be working on a bunch of other projects, if it starts looking really lousy in a couple of years, then we'll be really grouchy probably about doing something else, whether that means restoring it to a solid color or doing something. I know there's all kinds of new technology now as far as getting things to adhere in different ways. So if you can do it, that's great. I will say the other thing, just that is very important, I think, to get on the record, is that the reason we, as a commission, generally considered such a large brick wall on a building like this to be an appropriate location for a mural is because this is a brand new building, even though it has historical characteristics to it. And not that many people are paying any attention to our minutes. That being said, it does look like, I mean, this was intentionally made with those lower floor cutouts that look like they've been bricked in. I just don't want anybody to have the misimpression who, doesn't look at these buildings a lot, that this is a historic building and that they have a different historic building that may not be appropriate for their spot just because we've done it here. So with that, that's all I have to say. I'll let it go. I'm in favor. I'll go down the road.
I'm in favor.
Ben,
I'm in favor.
In favor.
I'm in favor, but I think you should do a mock-up of one of the downspouts before you let him go forward, because I think because the face of the downspout is in a different plane than the brick, it's gonna be hard to make it look as smooth a transition as it appears in the rendering, and might just be kind of a little.
I think that's a great suggestion. We'll do that. If we decide to ixnay the downspouts, that's
I
okay.
think it's all right with me. Yeah.
I've got one other thing. You were talking about the acrylic and
Yes.
or an option. Are you asking us to consider a different material?
Is acrylic okay? I guess is my question. And I'm not an artist, so I
I
don't
would leave
know
that to
the
staff.
differences.
I would just say that I would leave that to the experts. Whatever's going to adhere the best. And I mean, since we're not going to get really a 50% permeable kind of situation, which is what that 50% is really about from my perspective. It's not about dividing the building in half. And I think that we need to be careful going forward about how we define that so that, even though this is a new building, it's still, we want to preserve it. So I want to be more careful about that. But since you guys can get that guidance, I think that we're going to, from my perspective, it's still appropriate to go forward. And I have no objection to the acrylic paint that the artist is recommending personally.
Thank you.
If staff could just speak on the acrylic part of that, with acrylic, unfortunately, it can possibly gather moisture in between the paint and the brick, which can cause damage to the brick. The silica based, it's more balanced with the brick, so it adheres better, but also it has that breathability factor, so it helps with that 50% coverage. So that's the reason why we made that recommendation.
Then I would defer to staff.
I mean, that's whatever you can work it out together that we're stuck in building commercial rate.
Can I make a motion?
I think so. I do. Good. Yep.
Move to approve IV 2308-014 on the condition that the paint be silica based.
Yes.
And with Brooks' condition about doing a test on the downspout.
Yeah, we're not going to the downspout.
Second,
And the downspout can be not painted or not painted based on the.
Can I have a third and a second?
Third, second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Excellent. Now, I know you're still up for the next one. I have to abstain due to different changing in ownership, and I have to abstain from the last one. So staff, is there any business at the end of this meeting that needs to take place?
We're good.
Okay.
I should have said yes.
Yeah, stay, Commissioner City now.
Everybody, see you next time.
That's leave it.
All right, so we still have four. Good.
All right, 10 IV 2308-5.
Right, so this is for 727 North 4th Street. I'm proposing to paint a mural on the north elevation facing 4th Street to cover 50% of wall. Artist to be Desiree Kelly. Location on the corner on 4th Street and Warren Avenue was previously reviewed as conceptual application in May 2022. The following was taken from May 2022 Italian Village Commission meeting. Commissioner comments supportive of this location. At the August business meeting, commissioners asked if applicant would be removing the camera sign on the side of the proposed mural. They also stated that they did not have objection for a painted mural to be added to the space since it was previously painted. Staff recommends approval of application with any clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of certificate, with the following condition as well: for applicant to use silica-based paint on the masonry surface for breathability. Basis of staff rec is short on design guidelines, murals, page 3.26. And that's all.
Thank you. This artist, Desiree Kelly, is based in Detroit, but she has a lot of connections to Columbus. The property owner, Kevin Likens, had a very specific kind of desire to see a portrait of someone historical. So she incorporated that and then also took feedback again from Italian Village Commission where they wanted to see some of the architecture used in the building. So then you can see the silhouettes kind of in process painting the mural to add some more interesting dimensions to it. Yeah, and oh, the camera sign we can totally move if we will move the camera sign.
So is it this image or is it what's on the building? Right, like sort of, no, the one above.
Oh, they're slightly.
Yeah, there's yellow.
It's the first one, because the second one I sent in second. I'm sorry. Okay. So the first one is the design. The second one, she was just mocking it up on the building, but she forgot the first one. But I am seeking approval for the yellow.
Okay. And staff, this building is previously painted.
Yes,
Okay.
that portion of the cruise.
Brooke?
I think it's great.
I think it's great too. I like the second one better though.
Without the yellow?
Yellow, but not that we're gonna affect that. Just had a chance to say it, so I said it.
Ben?
I get what Commissioner Trott's saying because it almost emphasizes the figure more without all the noisy yellow and red background. But I will defer to the artist on that and I'm in support with the staff's material recommendations.
Mine as well.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I move on application. Are we doing this apart? Is it? This is still 9, right?
No.
No, this is 10.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, since it's a different address, different location.
Application 23-808-015-270, or no, I'm sorry, 727 North 4th Street to approve as submitted tonight with the understanding that staff has recommendations about the material.
Silica-based paint
Silica basic paint.
will be used. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, IB 2308116.
Briefly here.
You guys need to start providing blankets.
Eight years. Victorian convention once we might have to.
All right, can you raise your right hands and state names for the record?
Colin Carter. Dave Perry.
You swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you. Staff?
All right. This application was previously recommended for a set of variances, IB 23-06011. Additional variances are needed and have returned for review. Site development, building design was previously approved, IB 23-01009 and IB 22-07012. Variances for Area A and Area B. Would the commission like me to go over the new ones that have been added as well as the ones that have been revised, or all of the variances for each
Have
area?
gone over, or have more been added since our business meeting
No.
than just the ones that are pertaining to this particular application
Okay.
before us?
So
Those are the revised ones.
the revised ones are, just wanted to verify that. So for Area A, Section 331221AD1, landscaping and screening to reduce the 4-foot landscape setback along part of the east property line from 4 feet to 1 foot for the south 9 foot of driveway from Detroit Avenue, which is 28 feet alley. The next one was Section 332105, vision clearance to reduce the clear vision triangle of North 6th Street and driveway after alley from 12 foot by 12 foot to 10 foot by 10. An updated one is Section 333221D, building lines to reduce the North 6th Street building setback line from 10 feet to 0 feet. Section 33, 32, 26, minimum side yard permitted to reduce the south side yard, Detroit Avenue, 28 feet from 5.86 feet, 3-story, 35 feet to 5 feet. 33, 22, maximum side yard required to reduce the sum of the side yards in the building fronting East Fourth Avenue from 22.8 feet to 10 feet. And 23, 23, minimum side yard permitted to reduce minimum side yard from 5 feet to 4 feet for the east side yard of the building fronting East Fourth Avenue. And that's for variance for area A. Area B, an updated one is for the driveway, 3312, 13B, to reduce the width of the driveway from 20 feet to 13 feet. 3312, 25, maneuvering, to reduce maneuvering area for existing garage spaces from 20 feet to 1 foot due to the alley south of the existing building on area B being sold and will no longer be an alley, but an easement for access to the existing garage. The maneuvering will be provided, thereby providing maneuvering area off-site of the garage. An updated revision clearance, 332105, to reduce the 30 foot by 30 foot clear vision triangle at the intersection of East Fourth Avenue and North 6th Street to 8 feet by 8 feet as existing with the existing building. Another updated is 18 building lines, requires building lines of no less than 10 feet along North 6th Street and East 4th Street, while the applicant proposes the existing building setback of 6 feet along North 6th Street and 5 feet along 4th Street. And that is the updated one for area B. Staff analysis, applicant was previously recommended for variances at the past June special meeting and did not include variances related to the previously approved landscaping plan. Landscaping provided in the variance application did not match the previously approved plan. Commission requested applicant to remove the landscaping variance portion and submit a new landscaping application if they are changing what was approved. Applicant informed staff that the previously recommended variances would need to be updated for review. Staff informed applicant they would need to submit a COA application for landscaping if it has been changed from the previous approval. Applicant has submitted the updated variances landscaping. At the August business meeting, commissioners had the following requests and statements. Area A appears to have the most issues and will need further clarification. For area B, are they trying to move the dumpster or leaving it in previously approved site plan? Commissioners will need further clarification on the 1 foot setback noted on section 3312, 2181, landscaping and screening on the east property line of area A. Commissioners will need further clarification of access to area A as well. Commissioners requested additional clarity of right-of-way area noted on the site plan and requested applicant provide clarification to show the differences between the new site plan and the previously approved, indicate what has changed or been removed for the trees specifically. Applicant responded stating the differences between the previously approved landscaping. There's a 5 foot privacy fence added along east property line, planting of 3 European hornbeams in drive aisle rather than planting the trees within planters, planting of 3 slender silhouette sweet gum trees closer to the property line on North 6th Street, and planting 5 imperial honey locust trees instead of 3 imperial honey locust trees in the right of way of the 4th Avenue. Staff recommends the commission recommends the variances and approve the landscaping of application IV 2308016 as submitted. Then all clarifications be submitted to HPO staff for review. The conditions being elevation drawings or style selection to be submitted to HPO staff for final review and approval, and to be selected from the approved fencing styles. And then they'll put an opaque stain or paint selection to be submitted to HPO staff for final review and approval. Basis of staff rec is 311613, standards for site improvements. Short design guidelines, parking lots, page 3.31, and site work and landscaping, page 3.42. Thank you, and apologies for getting tongue-tied for that.
Do you all have anything to add?
Whatever you'd like to talk about or whatever questions you have.
So for the variances, it looks like these are all pretty standard variances that we've approved in the past, so I'm not too worried about recommending any of those. I would say on that first page, I think we can all see now what is highlighted in the landscaping plan is what those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections are what they're changing. So I guess we take comments on that.
Did those indicate subtractions or
I think some are additions and some of them are change in type.
I see. So the one on the left is what was approved,
Yes.
and the one on the right is where you would like to be.
Yes.
One on the right is the current landscape plan.
Well, let me just, I agree that most of these things are fairly pat. I think the only things that stand out are the dumpster and this landscape stuff. So, and I think even the dumpster makes sense to me because it's adjacent to a parking lot as opposed to somebody else's side yard. So, I really have no concerns, and I would really like Commissioner Trott to drive this where I do feel that some of the features of the previous application, landscape-wise, are stronger than the current.
Sure, I see that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I see that, I'm just trying to get a sense of this, that it says proposed tree grades. I appreciate, the shade trees that you have added, and then in the middle of, the parking lot in that strip in the center, it says that there are, 3 trees, European hornbeams. Can I ask why those were chosen?
Those are very typical through the area. They've been planted in tree islands throughout the Bud Dairy parking lot and adjacent projects, as well as the 1050 North 4th, the Slate project. So it's a common tree that we've used that the commission has approved previously, and tends to work really well for parking lot or parking lot adjacent areas.
So it's a very upright tree, and what we're trying to do is just get some more sense of canopy. I appreciate that. I'm assuming the ones on the outside are canopy trees. And so it would be, I was just curious why you had changed that instead of not using like a honey locust or, some other trees that are also good street trees, but would just give some coverage instead of having upright trees that are going to seem
Which
small.
trees?
Point of order, real quick, the previously approved tree was a European hornbeam location.
That was a conditional approval though. So it was a conditional approval to have honey locust, which I forgot to notice.
Okay.
Apologies about that, Commissioner Burgess. But it was proposed to have the Morby at the time.
So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I think it would be a lot nicer if you had, because what we're trying to do is to get some sense of landscape in a sea of parking. And so if you go with very narrow trees, it's just, kind of emphasizing that. So I think it would be much better if you could, put a little broad spreading shade tree, street tree. And, I don't know what to say about the 1 foot dimension on the right side of the plan. Because when you think about these things, you're thinking about what comes next and what goes to the side. And, I see that you are up against the wall with parking there. And, the only thing that I could see that might help that is that there was a fence or something that came into view or that was added to that, because I mean, we don't know. What does that person then, have to deal with? But I'm going to let that go, but I just had to say that I don't think that that is an appropriate way to do a site plan and to have no green space, 1 foot of green space between your property and the property adjacent to it. And I guess that's it.
With the,
Let Brooke finish.
I agree with Commissioner Trott's comments about the hornbeams being so columnar and not really doing anything as far as providing any relief from heat and sunlight. And I guess I'm a little confused. Why on page north, we go from 3 very nice, large honey locust to what looks like bush type honey locust in those lawn areas. I guess I just don't understand that.
And actually,
It's on page north along here.
they're labeled similarly, but rendered differently, so which is correct.
Yeah, so we have 3 nice big large,
Imperial honey locust,
Right.
and they're shown as a small ornamental tree.
yes, on the
Yeah.
left, and they're small, they look like little bushes.
They are rendered differently. I don't believe that there's a caliper size on there, which we can determine here, but it is the same tree from the originally approved plan.
But
We,
the original plan shows them in the tree line. The revised plan shows them in the residential lawn area.
that is still within the right of way. So the property line is just south of, if you look at the plan on the right, you've got the 5 honey locusts that are bubbled. So the property line starts just south of those 5 trees. So it still is within the right of way. We just didn't have the necessary width in the right of way north of the sidewalk to satisfy any sort of substantial tree. So I believe 4 feet is required, and we did not have that in between the sidewalk and 4th Avenue. So that's why we moved it further south. We also, for what it's worth, believe that that's going to help soften that facade up, make that more of a residential feel.
But you're not, are you still saying that you're proposing honey locusts?
Yes.
Just a different size.
So I don't believe a caliper is determined there, but we can.
But they are gonna grow.
Yes.
And so even if it was a 2 versus a 6-inch caliber or something, it's eventually gonna turn into a big tree.
Mhm.
And you say the city would not let you put them up in that green space along the road?
Yes, and that was the same issue that we have along 6th, where those trees were originally located in between 6th and the sidewalk. And we no longer had what we thought was going to be sufficient space. So those were located right there on the property line, just east of the sidewalk there.
If I may, I mean, at least there's one that's being preserved in the northeast corner. And I'm back up to the 4th Avenue.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's compliant because of the sidewalk setback there. And I'm just a little curious why, if we truly wanted more street trees, then the sidewalk configuration could be modified a little bit in that way, you could have room for it. I understand that on 6th Street, you may not ever be able to provide that kind of space, but just so the other commissioners can see that, at least there's one tree left over, and the reason it's there is because of the way the sidewalk is configured.
And so you're saying, why not configure this
It
the
could be.
way?
Keep in mind that
This
configuring it,
wider through here, and then those trees could be moved up in there.
Yeah, I mean, but they haven't approved,
exactly.
they've already had an approved sidewalk, so they'd have to comply with, or, have to be amenable to that kind of approach, but, so, if they're not, then they have every right to leave the sidewalk where they were.
All right, I'm gonna give my comments and then we can get into the conversation. That's okay. Did you have anything to add before I do that, Brooke?
Well, Carla does.
Well, you've already spoken, I haven't spoken yet.
Okay.
I can speak after. So I agree with Commissioner Trott, regarding the canopy in the center. I think that there should be, the same species that we originally recommended. I'm fine with the northern element mainly because it does give, more of a home feel to the front of those townhomes from the front by them each having their own individual tree in their front yards, which is, I think, a nice addition. On the, I'm just saying right because that's not east. On the right-hand side, a 1 foot of grass is not gonna fly for anyone. You're not gonna, like, I don't even know how that's gonna get taken care of, so I think that something else needs proposed. I understand if you can only do a foot of grass, but that means you just need to do something else. I don't think we've ever approved 1 foot of lawn before. So those are my comments. Carla, what else would you like to add?
I was just gonna say that in the front, if, you know, obviously we would all like to see that green strip, and by the front of me, Fourth Avenue. Wider and the trees were on, the sidewalk. But if that's not possible, then I don't think you want to put honey locust there. I mean, then you want to put something more like, a hornbeam or something that's going to be upright or a small, an ornamental that's going to fit, but you want to do something that's going to be nice. And sounds like you know trees that, you know, whether it becomes crab apples or something else, that would be the appropriate size. And so I don't know, I'm so glad to hear that you are not comfortable with this 1 foot strip, and, you know, it's hard to plant something in 1 feet, something 1 foot wide. But there are shrubs and things that are pretty narrow, or I just don't, you know, I feel like there should be something, you know, that maybe you guys need to come back to us with how are you going to handle this 1 foot wide area?
I may speak, Commission. I believe from the applicant's point, there is going to be a 5 foot privacy fence along that east property line where that 1 foot setback is.
Okay.
So there will be a privacy fence in that location. I don't know if that changes anything for the.
And then for grass on the other side of that privacy fence or concrete? I mean, that's the point. Yeah.
Or big stones or something like that.
We certainly could zero-scape that. I think that that's a better application
Yeah.
or solution than, I mean, grass. It's not gonna grow. It'll be weeds and
And,
other issues. So, yeah, we certainly could zero-scape that.
okay, so if we are allowed to, suggest that those stones are dark, they look so much better than just seeing these big white kind of things out there.
Anything else to add before the applicant responds?
So,
Go ahead.
Let me ask you on the 1 foot issue, it was, you know, the project was moving along with architecture and landscape plan and so on, and then I got into the mix on how do we make this work with the zoning code. And so I cited the 1 foot because the required setback of parking lots, which includes the driveways, is 4 feet of landscaping, and then the screening that's required, the vertical screening that's required. So the screening requirement is 5 foot and 75% opacity. So Colin added the fence to the 1 foot area to meet the screening requirement, even though the horizontal dimension was not met. But the code is 4 feet of landscaping, and with that citation, I have proposed to reduce it from 4 feet to 1 foot. So if stone or some other material is acceptable to you, then I need to modify that citation, because with that citation, I'm saying there's 4 feet of live plant
So-
material.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that most likely you're gonna need to come back. I don't think you're gonna get an approval tonight, so I'd go ahead and do that. I think there's 3 issues that I don't think we're gonna work out tonight. I mean, there's that, we're not gonna approve it without seeing it in a plan. Whatever happens with that 1 foot, there's species in 2 different locations, so. I mean, I'm sure we could come to agreement on species tonight in those 2 locations if that's what you wanted, but I don't believe that you're gonna be getting approval because of the fact that we are gonna be also recommending variances on that portion.
Okay, so we have the grass, stone. Let me ask, just so Colin and I both know, are you saying okay to the 1 foot?
No, we're saying no to the 1 foot, cannot be, unless it's stone, but it cannot be grass.
Okay.
And I would honestly just rethink a solution and ask for a 0 setback variance if you need to. And
Yeah.
you're already requesting a variance. So.
Yeah, okay. But I cited it as reducing from 4 feet to 1 foot the landscaping, so cite it from 4 feet to 0. And then either Colin would propose on a resubmittal or you would require that it's in a dark stone. Is that what we're hearing? Yeah, okay.
But I have to say that I'm actually kind of opposed to the 4-foot setback variance anyway. And I know that you've already gotten an approval for this drive line, but you've kind of painted yourself in a corner and us in a corner, and it could all be solved by getting rid of some parking spaces there and doing an appropriate kind of interface between your property, your eastern property line and the next property. So I don't know if we have any maneuverability there.
We do,
Legally,
so that's
so-
another, we haven't approved this variance, so that might also be an option of you showing us a way to get to 2 to 3 feet of grass or some other vegetation.
I think, just for information, and again, this was before I was involved, but the approved landscape plan shows that area as at about 1 foot.
But it wasn't approved, it was conditionally approved.
The landscape plan was conditional approval.
The landscape plan was approved, the landscape and the overall site plan was approved as is
So why is this one of the variances that we are re-litigating?
for the 1 foot.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, the variances were recommended. We did not see variances at the time of design and landscaping review, unfortunately. So this has come in later on. And there were variances that were recommended, in June, but the removal of the landscaping and screening was removed from that variance at the time. We could do something similar. I'd probably not recommend just because of where we have gotten now with the variances, but the design.
they might have us on a point of order though.
Yes, so the design overall is what was previously approved.
So I think unfortunately, we're just stuck with dealing with materiality at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, the drawing on the left is what was previously approved for the landscaping and the hardscaping and overall for parking lot.
And then after I got involved in looking at this, I mean, there clearly is a variance needed there for conformance to the zoning code, but the approved plan does not show 4 feet. It shows whatever, it shows about 1 foot.
Well, I am prepared to make a motion to approve all this with the condition of the stone. So
And the fence.
if you guys would prefer to call out that motion instead, so that it's more accurate, I'm happy to defer.
Well, I think that that's not you guys have 3 things that. Would one of you like to make a motion that you all are comfortable with?
I can do that.
And before we get started on the motion, since there are variances and the landscape plan, then it would be a recommendation and then an approval. So 2 separate for the landscape.
Okay, so we really have 2
Yes.
motions.
So which one?
Let's do the variances.
Technically 2.
I'll make the motion for the variance. I move on application, where are we?
Between
2308-016 to recommend the variances that have been presented here tonight.
20 seconds.
Okay. Is there discussion after the second?
Not from the applicant. Oh,
But I have to, because what I said a few minutes ago on the citation that I prepared to reduce landscaping from 4 feet to 1 feet of plant material, 1 foot of plant material, won't be plant material, it'll be stone. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Colin will do whatever stone.
So you're saying that motion, that my motion needs to include the stone piece?
Yes, but
Well,
it's.
no, if you're-
in fence.
That,
That was
I think
just.
I think that can be second, but the variance needs to be modified from 4 feet to 0
I don't
feet
think the fence is in the 1
of
foot.
landscaping.
I think it's on this one side of the 1 foot.
Because there's no landscaping stuff.
If you look at the plan, there is
Is the fence within that 1 foot?
what, yes.
So you're gonna have to come back, anyways, because we can't recommend a variance that isn't before us. So
You mean the fence?
if we're not gonna do plant material, it needs to be a new variance that's 0 instead of 1. He's gonna have to bring that to us to recommend.
So if you had a fence.
So
you
we'll
had
just
a little
continue that one.
of gravel at the bottom of it, in that 1 foot area.
Got it.
We can't approve that. But fence and gravel, something.
Can we do up to 1 to 0 on the variance? I think we're allowed changing variances.
I would recommend it.
Yeah.
It would be a building and zoning call to see if that was acceptable for the site or could be, you know, a recommendation for that.
So we have.
Yeah.
I guess, Ben, I understand you wanting to approve a bunch of it all at once, but I almost think it's gonna take us like 15 minutes to do 5 approvals on this application instead of just waiting until next month. But it's up to you guys.
We can't just sidetrack the one that's doing the.
Well, we're gonna have to take it out from the variances. We're gonna have to take it out from the site plan, so we're gonna end up with 3
But I can
motions.
make a motion to approve recommendation of everything but that particular variance.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what we're gonna do. Now I just have to figure out what that section was, if somebody can.
I can read it off for you, Commissioner Bennett.
Yeah, so fill in the blank for that particular.
Could I ask you to look at it a different way in that the citation has been made? You know, it's on your agenda, it's been published. Building and zoning, honestly, Morgan doesn't care whether this is 1 foot or 0.
We understand that.
They could care less whether it's 1 foot or 0. I mean, it's up to the commission.
This is about our legal powers. You're not allowed coming up with a variance on the fly and then recommending it. You all
So we're,
to us.
Commission is recommending what building and zoning services was discussed, which
Request.
then goes to council, so it has to be. Yeah.
Except for,
Section 331221 AD1 landscaping and screening.
okay,
Seconds? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
This is approving all the variances except.
This
for
is
that one.
recommending approval.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Right.
So that, just so I understand, that variance was not approved at all, or it was not approved to change from 1 to 0?
It was not approved at all.
It was removed.
It was removed.
Removed from this recommendation.
Oh, the ordinance cannot go forward then until we're back in another month. That you have to have that variance in the ordinance.
Understood. That's,
Okay,
Motion 2 of this application is about landscape, the landscape plans. And, yeah,
Commissioner Trout. would
which
like
you
to
can.
make a motion.
It's recommended that the honey locusts on 4th Street that are planted in front of building be changed to a smaller tree that will grow appropriately within the size that is in that area. We also move that the 3 European hornbeam are changed to a broader spreading shade street tree.
You just want to call out the imperial honey locust.
I'd be fine if they're imperial honey locusts. It's a monoculture, but that's okay. We'll take our chances. And I think that was it, because we're waiting on this one.
And then all other portions of the site plan except for the
1 foot.
1 foot setback are approved.
Yes.
To clarify, will the fencing be approved at this time, or are the commissioners wanting to continue that portion until we have additional information on that variance?
I think we should approve it with the variance and see the fencing and what it looks like,
Okay, so,
and the rock and the base of it as well.
okay, since we have not made a second yet, would the commission want to think about possibly continuing the landscaping plan as a whole until we have all that information together? You know, with those recommendations from the commission to change the design?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about
Yeah,
that?
how do you?
with regards to the fence, that fence has previously been approved at the Architectural Alliance office. So if you'd like to see what that is presented, that fence is
identical.
We're more worried about what it looks like on your site, not that we don't know what a standard.
Understood.
So, for resubmittal, would you like the landscaping plan resubmitted with an elevation of the fence and the 1 foot area labeled in dark stone? Is that where we're headed?
Sounds like where we're headed, as well as the changes in species.
Oh, and the trees, yeah, trees.
I would have some sort of photograph indicating the stone itself, so that
Yeah, we want to see the material of the stone. Yeah.
The,
So product sheet of raw material.
yes.
like the 2-inch stone or bigger, something like that. Not small gravel pieces.
Additionally, if commissioners want to continue this portion, I would make the recommendation to maybe continue that variance that would need to come back to landscaping screening, just to add that with the continuation portion, if that works for the commissioners and the.
Can we continue both those things at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
A second with those
Yeah, that's-
modifications, if that's okay with the primary motion.
It's
All in
fine.
favor?
Wait.
Sorry.
She's
To
looking
continue or to approve?
To continue.
to continue.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. Just wanted to clarify.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, motion carries. All right.
It's, I'm continuing the landscape plan, it's fine. I mean, we'll just have to get that redrafted for next month. It's fine because the zoning variance ordinance can't go to council anyway without your approval of that variance.
Correct.
I will say council is out of session as well for the month, so.
Do you all have any other business, or do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.